Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Masana.
Morning.
Good morning, listeners, everybody out there in the online radio world. Welcome to Dazzle Hangout. Today we have Janelle Joyeaux, who is the owner of Sweet Dreams Custom Cakes, right? Janelle has been doing it for at least 15 years now.
Yes, at least 15 years.
And she was featured in our issue 23. Right, which you guys could log on to our website, dazzlethemac.com, search her name, Janelle Joyeaux, or just Janelle, she'll pop up as the first search. She's been doing, as I said, she's been doing it for at least 15 years, right? She grew up in a home of bakers and cooks. However, her dream was not to follow in her aunt's and mother's footsteps, right? Despite her mother giving her first cookbook at the age of 7, she started baking since then. Am I not right?
You're very right about that.
And the thing about it is that she still has this cookbook today, right? Yeah.
Nice. Still do, yes. My daughter has it now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that is the reason for her starting, I would say baking, because she just did it for her daughter. You know, from I think for her first birthday, she did a customized cake, and then she posted it on Facebook at the time because there was no Instagram.
No Instagram at all.
And she got a lot of positive feedback, right? And despite that was not a passion because she's a technical person. She has a diploma in architecture from South Louis, right?
Yes, I do.
But that's like way off. Okay.
But no, it actually isn't way off. It actually works out.
The architect, the drawing, and everything.
Construction. My last weekend's cake, I literally had to sketch. So that takes some time if you're knowledgeable about it. So it is something that actually you put into work when you're working with the cake, especially the tiers and the weight of the cake. That's important.
Right. Wow.
Detail.
Wow. You know, so I'll let her continue, tell us what she has been up to, over the past few years, where she sees her brand going and the exciting projects she's worked on. I know she's not a fan of weddings, right? Wedding cakes. We just had a discussion outside and she was telling me about wedding season and, things are picking up. And then in my mind, I'm like, I remember you stating that you didn't like weddings because to develop a cake or to bake a cake for someone's special day, everything has to be perfect. Right?
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
Yeah, so it's a lot of pressure. She wasn't really too comfortable or confident at the time, but now I'm hearing, well, that's a season, And I also wanted to tell us how she did her first wedding cake, which was a 7-tier wedding cake. Whoa. How did she or who conceptualized that cake and how she was able to deliver it?
Okay, so it actually, the 7th tier wasn't my first wedding cake. My first wedding cake, you don't want to see what it looks like. The challenge actually was my 7th tier wedding cake because I'd never done it before. It was, okay, how am I going to fulfill this person's wish? Because her vision wasn't my vision, if you understand, because she wanted this really elaborate cake and I was like scared out of my mind. But the wedding planner and myself sat with her and tried to understand where she was coming from.
Okay.
So we literally sat down together and designed her wedding cake instead of using photos from online because what she wanted, we would not have been able to pull off at the time for her. So Charlie, who I work with, is a wedding planner, and she's very patient. So she drew that. She drew that wedding cake up, and we put it together. It was crazy because every layer was a different flavor. So this has been my forte for a long time when it comes to flavors. I never started wanting to do just regular flavored cake. So everything that I do now, I always try to make it different. So I have a signature lemon basil cake that a lot of my brides will tell you now that's one of the first things that they go for because for some reason basil and lemon works in tandem. They work really well together. It had that nice punchy flavor, but it has a mild taste on your palate. So, but for me, weddings is always fearful because there's something called bridezilla, and brides have a tendency to go off, even if that's not their personality. but because they want that
day to be so special.
Yeah. So usually in my consultations with them, I try to tell them, you know what, forget about what the cake looks like. Think about what you want for you and your husband, because those small things, yes, they matter, but the most important part of your wedding is the saying I do. So that kind of calms them down. And then I always tell them, make sure your husband is involved, though you think he shouldn't be. But he also has a vision of his cake. So most times I always ask them to bring their husband in, and you'll be surprised how men like details too. So yes, wedding season has opened for me. Yes, I have gotten more confident in doing wedding cakes, because now I am also known for the wedding lady, because my cakes are not just simple, but they also how shall I say it, on the market of international standards, because the brides come in with Pinterest pictures, and
I could imagine.
You know, and Pinterest,
they want a flower there, a pole there.
Not even the poles. Pinterest takes you to beyond St. Lucia. So the things that you would get on Pinterest and in the US and in England, you're not going to get here. You have to order them. Right? And the way people work in the States, you can actually rent stuff out. Here, you have to find things, make things, try things. And see.
And all that brings up the cost too.
And that's where we have a problem, because cost in St. Lucia is really high, but you have to remember, you want this bride and groom to stay with you as a family forever. So you work with them. I also tell them, you don't need to go big to go beautiful. You could go tall and small and have a very elegant cake. My last cake, which was last weekend, I literally designed, we sat down and I designed the cake as to what she envisioned and what she wanted. I literally had to make what you call a hoop floral arch. I mean, that's where the architecture comes in. So I had to use hula hoops, because I couldn't get somebody to prepare metal frames for me. So I recreated the hoops myself. And
with a hula hoop?
With two of them. With two of them. And with I had to get flowers for them and hot glue gun and burn my fingers and go through the process to make sure it stand. The first one fell down, had to try again. So everything worked out in the end marvelously, because for me, that's again architecture, learning what works and what does not work, what needs to balance, how you can balance what goes forward and backward. So weddings and these sort of things have become what I actually now love even more than anything else. Months ago, I would not have attempted. But weekend before that, I had a 5-tier all the way to Soufrière.
Wow.
My experience with the roads in St. Lucia, they're not cake friendly. So this time we had to literally take everything apart and build at site. And that takes time.
How long did it take?
To recreate the cake. When we got there, at least an hour to put it together.
And you had a team helping you, or you? I
have a partner who works with us. Well, works with me. We've become one in the sense that he is a he. He is my strength, as in literal physical strength to carry stuff. He also is now a certified baker. That's not his forte. He used to be a chef. But when he joined the team 4 years ago, there's a passion that he loved, and he is now continued. So imagine he's certified by TVET. I'm not. But he got training and he's now doing this. So when it comes to working together, baking, decorating, he has the detail, I have the vision. So that's how we work together. So carrying the cakes to Soufrière, like the bottom tier, 12 inches, must have weighed about 20 pounds, because it was all fruitcake.
20 pounds?
Because it's that heavy. Fruitcake is very heavy, and there was 3 layers of fruitcake on the inside, because the cake is really tall. So yes, so when people tell me how we do it, no sleep. That weekend we must have been half an hour sleep between the Saturday morning till the Sunday, because we had 2 weddings back to back. So it was fun.
Now let's take it back, because Rankin had an interesting intro for you where he said that this was not your passion initially, and you grew up with a family that was good with their hands and in the kitchen. Were you at first good with your hands, and you just were not interested in using your talent in that way, or you had to learn to create tasty food and cakes?
I think I was good with my hands because my grandmother, my deceased grandmother, saw it. She said to me, why do you want to do such a hard subject at school? Why do you want to do architecture? Why can't you just cook because that's what you like? But I didn't see it.
Right.
Because I wanted to be different. I didn't want to follow my aunt's footsteps. I wanted to make something out of myself. I actually wanted to be the first architect in St. Lucia who would build a home for wayward children. These were my ideas at the time, but I had no idea what God had in store for me because, trust me, I didn't even expect my talent to go so far. Just yesterday, another cake decorator said to me, she sent me a photo, you know, like how Facebook reminds you of things. Her mom had sent her a picture of my cake 6 years ago when she started doing school. And that means to her I was an inspiration. I didn't expect that because the cake 6 years ago to now is way different. But I was her inspiration, which means I did something right back then and I'm still doing something right now. So I see my talent as a blessing. I try my best to do everything in my power not to lose it. But sometimes it can take a real toll physically, like days not eating properly, my eyes are going bad. Like my prescriptions have changed within 2 years. Right. Because the details take a toll on your eyes.
Wow. So at what point did you decide, okay, I'm not going to follow this dream that I had, and I'm going to take a turn in a positive direction, but focus on making cakes specifically?
My daughter.
Your daughter?
When she was born in 2004, and I had done the first birthday cake, as Rankin said, but I wanted to do something that would help me give her the life I figure I didn't have. I wanted to be able to do things that I wanted to do but couldn't do because my parents couldn't afford. So that's when it started. I did all her stuff for her first birthday, the cake. I went to my aunt and asked her to teach me something within half an hour, basically, so I can actually create a birthday cake for her. And Facebook, though has positive and negative, but that was my positive. Facebook helped a lot with pushing me, and still is, because social media I literally use as my marketing tool.
Yeah. And I think it works perfectly with the type of business that you have, because when people go, I showed Mike some of your cakes this morning, and I showed you cakes on Instagram this morning. Very impressive. I mean, the colors and the designs, and like, I wouldn't want to eat it. You just want it there. It looks like a beautiful decoration.
Now, even for me, like, I remember when she started to post, like, way back then, on Facebook. I was similar. As like, wow, I couldn't even, like, believe, because again, customization of cakes, that was quite new. Yeah. Right. Normally the cakes you'd probably get is like, all right, like
a round one.
Yeah, round one with a Sesame Street character or something. Yeah. Right, but to actually see the cakes come alive, for me, that was very impressive. But for me, what I'd like to ask you, Janelle, is that how do you stay current, with all the various techniques and what's going on in today's world?
For me, I read a lot. Internet is your friend. YouTube is also the best learning tool that is for free. That I work with. So anytime I see something, I use like Instagram, and I follow a lot of the international cake decorators. And so when I see something that they recreate, and a lot of them share their ideas, so you go on and you look at their videos, and that's how I learn most of what I have done. For instance, I carve. This is something that is very difficult to do with cake. This is something very soft and spongy, and so I have learned to carve cakes. It takes a lot of patience, because sometimes if you don't carve right, you lose, and you have to go back and redo. But over the years, it's practice makes perfect for me. So anybody who wants, and I mean, as I said, I have no formal training. YouTube is your friend. YouTube helps.
YouTube University.
YouTube University has granted me an opportunity to be who I am today.
Wow. And I'm sure you share your knowledge with persons who ask you all the time, how are you able to do this, and how do you get the cake to look like this?
I do. That's where, for me, when I started, I found it very difficult to ask locals here because they didn't want to share their ideas. So I used to always ask. There were forums called Cake Central from the US that you ask questions and everybody's sharing. And so initially, I don't know why, but people had this idea that I was not very friendly when it comes to helping out until people started to speak to me. And I'm like, but why not? I learned from people sharing with me, and I have no problem telling people how to manage or what it is that they need to do, because at the end of the day, everybody has the ability to do something different from me, because my work is different from the next cake decorator, because we are different people. Our techniques will be different.
So with that said, how about competition? Because I know St. Lucia is a very small nation, and the environment could be saturated with cake bakers and someone offering cupcakes here and someone specializing in something else, but it'll still fall under that cake baking category. So do you think you have a lot of competition? And if so, how do you handle it?
Competition is me. I don't see other cake decorators as my competition. I see them actually as supposed to be working hands in hands with me. What I always say is that as a cake decorator, I think they need to come together and form an association, because if we all have one level playing field, what makes us different is our techniques. And so we should not fight each other. And that's what I've found that we do a lot. We fight each other because we want to get into the market. But what we are doing wrong is failing ourselves, because when you go so under in pricing, you're putting yourself at a place where you can't even come out of. So if you set a certain standard and you build on that, that will take you really far. Because I used to have 2 jobs. I used to work at Cable and Wireless, but for the past 5, almost 6 years now, I've been doing this full time, running my house, running my business, and I'm still standing in all of this that we live in St. Lucia right now. I'm still standing because I don't see them as my competitors. I see myself, so I always want to make myself better.
Nice. I like that. So, Janelle, what's the time frame for you to complete a cake? Because you have some real extravagant cakes on your Instagram page. Can you only do one cake at a time? How does your business work?
So we don't do on a daily basis, sometimes 3, 4. On weekends, 7 cakes.
Wow.
7 to 8 cakes, depending. So what we do now as a team is we bake together. And so we do something, the buttercreaming aspect. So just prepping the cakes. Prepping the cake sometimes takes about 12 hours depending on the amount of work that we have to do, because I need my cakes to have what we call sharp edges. So the layer that you're going to have at the bottom of that cake must be almost perfect. So when I roll fondant out, when I put it over, I don't want any round edges. I want that cake to look like you can cut yourself with it. That's how we work. With St. Lucia, because of our heat, I have to use the AC all the time so that we can actually have nice firm cakes. So with my partner and I, if we're doing on the weekend that we had the 5-tier wedding cake, we also had a 3-tier wedding cake on the Sunday. So 5 tiers means 5 different cakes. So you're dealing with making 5 different cakes for somebody at that time. So prep dates would be the day before, and then on the second day we would be decorating. So depending on what birthday cakes, when we do that, easy peasy, get that through. We don't have to worry.
Even with the designs, because I see some real top designs.
Because it's been practice for me. Okay. I will spend cars. Cars take us 22 hours. Our last car we took between 2 people, so you can calculate it by 44 hours.
Right.
22 hours from start to finish. So when I tell people the amount of time we spend working on one cake can be a lot. The simpler cakes and the ones that have the figurines, the figurines I always do by hand, is easy, so I prep ahead of time.
So how are you able to manage, because that's a lot of time to spend on preparing the cakes and making the cakes and everything. How are you able to manage that and spending time with your daughter and being a mommy?
I have a very understanding daughter.
Okay.
So it was difficult in the beginning because she should say, "Mommy, all you do is spend time working. You don't spend time with me."
I
But
can imagine.
The old people say is what you see in your household is what's going to happen to you, basically. So your child mimics who you are. So she's become even a harder worker than I am. So she knows how hard I work. So she works harder than me to get things done for me. So we take Mondays off. We try our best to have Sunday afternoons off as much as possible so I can do stuff with her. Like during holiday times, I try to take a couple of days off in between so we can do stuff together.
Okay.
But she doesn't mind.
Right.
Because she spends a lot of her time by herself. She's a loner.
Okay.
But she will come and help. So she will not help like decorate, but she will do things like, "Mommy, do you want coffee? Mommy, have you eaten?"
Yeah.
So we have a little
a nice understanding
of what it is. And she, because of this, I think when it comes to her life, her school life, it's reflective. So what I've done at home is what she's doing in school. So is
she interested in carrying on the tradition?
Nope.
No. Well, you still had some time to do some convincing.
No, I won't.
No.
I believe that you have to let children be. I get a lot of bashing because my daughter is into art. And I see my work as art also.
Right.
So she wants to study art, and so that's what she's doing at Comprehensive. She likes desserts, but not the cake decorating part. So she makes a mean brownie and chocolate chip cookies.
Well, you never know, it could be an add-on to the business. You never know.
But when it comes, because I hand paint sometimes, so I would call her in to ask her if I'm actually doing something right, because she has a knack for painting.
Okay.
So hopefully when she does university and she finishes and she decides, because sometimes kids say they want to do something and by the time they're ready to actually go to school, their mind changes. But I can see her hands. That's the thing she loves. She uses her hands. She likes to create stuff. She's always trying something on YouTube. Same thing. YouTube is it's her thing. So she's good at that.
Interesting. All right. And here I am struggling with my box cake.
There's nothing.
Betty Crocker.
Gone wrong. So Janelle, how can one get in contact with you, your social media handles, to see those beautiful designs you have with your cakes?
You could actually follow me on Instagram, Sweet Dreams Custom Cakes, both on Facebook and Instagram. Everything is there just one click away, because all of my information is, especially on Instagram, you can message, you can contact, and then I take it from there. But my easiest way to reach me is WhatsApp. Okay. Because most times people don't understand how hands-on the business is. So social media is only when I need to post stuff. But usually my phone is what I use to watch cakes while I work. So I'm usually in my phone, but not on my phone.
Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of the times that becomes a conflict for customers. My customers now understand. So if you see me on, doesn't mean I can actually respond to you. I have customers send me messages at 3-4 in the morning if they see me on working, right? And I'm like, okay, I really can't respond to you at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I love my customers. I have a little niche that I've had for years. They always come back. There are a few that leave, but at the end of the day, so far I could say it has been a great ride doing this. I'm not sure how long I can do it for again. What my future plans are, where should I go with this? It takes a lot of patience and understanding and effort to just run a small business, because you do everything: accounting, your banking, marketing, you have
stocking, everything.
You have to do a lot of stuff just to get that small bit out there.
Yeah, that's understandable. So we can follow you at Sweet Dreams Custom Cakes.
Yes.
On Instagram, Facebook as well. All right.
How about Pinterest? Are you on Pinterest?
I have a small
How much do you have time?
Pinterest takes more time to actually post on, because you have a lot of editing to do even before you post on Pinterest.
Right. And of course, Rankin, we could read about her story on Dazzle.
Yes. On the website www.dazzlethemag.com. As I said, just search for Janelle Joyeaux or just Janelle. Name will come up first in the search. You could read all about her. You could also view this episode of Dazzle Hangout on YouTube very soon. So please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. youtube.com/DazzleTheMag, and of course you can follow us on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Dazzle the Mag.